Hello, welcome again on this wonderful Saturday. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Masood Raja, and today I've set up this webinar as an open question answer session so that we can all collectively come together for me to design a course, an online course, and then every week on Saturday at the same time we can discuss certain aspects of the course, certain texts. And I have received certain suggestions and certain ideas, and I just wanted to know how would you like those implemented. So the main suggestions, that the bulk of them that I've received, are about a basic course on post-colonialism. And that's what I am also leaning towards. But I am curious as to how would you like me to proceed? Now, I have several options. I can either take one of my courses from, from my own website that I've previously taught, and the website is postcolonial.net, or I can design a completely new course. So my hope would be to develop a course which is, of course, freely and openly available, and which anyone can join, and then have that listed on a website with a chronology. So, and then all those materials will also be available, for anyone who visits my channel and wants to take like a chronological sequential course on post-colonial studies. And then I guess people will also be able to use it in their classes. What I can show you is, most of the times, this is the website that I use for my teaching, and it's postcolonial.net. And then there is a tab there which says Postcolonial Courses. Right now, my current courses that I am teaching right now at UNT are listed there, and my students visit them, and this is where I post most of the resources. So for example, if you look at this, right now, because I'm teaching online, so they have a weekly live stream, and then those live streams are archived, and then the readings. So what I'll do is, when we decide on this course, I will create a course page on the website itself. And then what I'm hoping to do is, first of all, list all the resources that are available under separate categories: introductory materials to postcolonial studies. So I will list all the videos that I've already created, give you the links to those. Then I will also post links to certain easily accessible written texts that you all can read. And then our weekly meetings would be a combination of the two, you having watched those videos and read the text that was assigned for that particular week. And then on every Saturday, we can go and discuss those. And this can be an open-ended course. We can continue doing it, and the archive will keep developing on the course page as well as on YouTube. Or we can have a time period, 6 months, 4 months, 1 semester, and then move on to more abstract and more advanced materials. So these are some of my ideas. I would be very happy to see what you have to say about it, of course. But that is the general plan. So, and I hope to start working on it this coming week so that we do have something available for the next Saturday for people to, join us and start learning in a semi-structured and formal way. And then my hope is that, more people will join us and this will become a larger group. But by and large, what I hope to do is create a basic course on postcolonial theory and postcolonial literature, have some basic text that everyone ought to read listed there. And because of the nature of this medium, I won't be able to use many copyrighted texts or texts that are not available in certain parts of the world. So what I'll go with is find out materials that are available in textual form and link them in the course webpage. And that's one of the limitations I see. But other than that, this course, after we started, would pretty much be taught as I'm teaching my other courses. So that would be a different experience for you. But I also want you to learn from that is not just the material itself, but the mode of teaching that we employ over here in the United States. And then I'll be happy to learn from you, if you can suggest a different pedagogical method or a different way of explaining things. I would also like to suggest those of you who are Urdu or Hindi speaking that I have started developing videos on the channel in Urdu. I mean, I don't speak classical Hindi, but I think Urdu and Hindi are mutually understood. So you should check those out. There is a separate playlist which is called Urdu Hindi Lectures. So that's good. So let me see, Naseem Hasrat, thank you so much. And yes, the website is the oldest individually created website on postcolonial studies. And those are not my words. Those are words of a scholar who wrote a book on digital scholarship. And you're welcome to use any resources on the website for your classes or for your own use. And there are quite a lot of resources. Usman, a good idea. It should be basic course, and for new beginners, we can then move further to advanced level. Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. They just give a basic understanding of the field itself, its major debates, and some major texts, and then move on to more complex and advanced ideas. Now, also keep in mind that my channel is called Postcolonialism, so there are 300 public videos on it. So a lot of these resources are already available. What a course does is it gives you a structured mode of engaging with the materials. And that's what I hope to accomplish and deliver. Now, postcolonial studies also is a, vast field of study. So no one can cover everything in it, but I think I agree with you, Usman, that if it's a basic course, at least it can introduce people with certain basic ideas about the field of study, certain basic concepts, how to talk about them, how to understand them. And then maybe in a second phase, we will do a more focused and complex and advanced course. So thank you so much. That's good to know. Now, so here is my plan. I plan to start with just basic understanding of what the field of postcolonial studies is. And I will start, of course, with my own video. There are now 2 videos available on that, short videos, what is postcolonialism, both in English and in Urdu, and I'll post them on the course page. Then there is about a 1-hour webinar, 2 webinars where I've answered questions about colonialism and postcolonialism. Those would be included. Then I'm hoping by the next week, excuse me, to have a handout by Robert Young, one of his essay on postcolonialism on the website that you can read. And then next Saturday, we can talk about the content of the videos, but also go deeply into Robert Young's essay. And then beyond that, I will also like to include a section on early debates of postcolonialism. Now, Social Text did a major issue on it. Issue 31 and 32 was on postcolonialism, I think, which I would like to make available to you to read, and then we can discuss them. So that will give us the early debates of postcolonialism. And then we'll go through whatever materials are freely available online about Said or from Said, Gayatri Spivak, Homi Bhabha, Fanon, and maybe then tackle a novel or some short stories and then practice how to read as a post-colonial scholar, and some of the essays that are written and published by post-colonial scholars. So Naseem Hasrat from Skardu, welcome, Jay Khalan. I know that's not your language. I mean, that's Shana. But yeah, I love Skardu. I was deployed at Siachen, and I used to go through, Skardu and Gol and Khaplu and all those areas. Can you please start a series of lectures on translation studies? Sorry, I cannot do that. I'm not a specialist on translation studies. That is way beyond my area of expertise. So even if I tried to do that, it would be too much of a learning curve for me. I would rather stay on the areas that I, consider my area of expertise. But we'll see if we can find someone who does translation studies, and maybe I can interview that person and post that on YouTube. But as an area of specialization, translation studies, actually, I pretty much don't know much about it. Please feel free to let me know. I find post-colonial studies still a very fascinating field of study, and some people treat it very reductively and think it is post-structuralist or just Marxist, or is it about contact phase? I think it's a very expansive field of study, and it can cover a lot of areas if we really explore it. I also am slightly skeptical of a certain kind of post-colonial studies which is being done in Pakistan, also in India, which to me becomes too nativist, too purist. My idea is one of the main concepts of post-colonial studies, hybridity. I believe that all cultures should borrow from each other. We should pick up the best of any culture if it is useful, if it enables a more liberating and progressive way of looking at life. And post-colonial studies is really good at it, because we can take anything from anyone and then employ it and use it. Keep in mind that this is what I plan to do, and that we have decided, of course, on a course on post-colonialism and introduction to post-colonial studies. And stay tuned for it. Visit the website. As soon as it is posted on the website, I'll probably record a brief lecture and introductory lecture and post it on YouTube with a link to the course page. And then we'll go from there and see how it goes. Cool. Good question, Nicole. Would you consider making a video on the difference between the terms post-colonialism versus post-colonialism? Well, there is no need to make a video. The term post with a hyphen colonialism was used during the early phase of field of study. And it was mostly used by Bill Ashcroft, Helen Tiffin, and these Australian scholars. And there is one essay by Stuart Hall, which I can make available if I can find it, where he talks about the tension in the hyphen. Then in the issue of social text, Anne McClintock and Ella Shoet also write it with post-colonialism. But by about mid-80s, I would say early 90s, the term is conflated. Just like postmodernism previously was written post-modernism, and then eventually it becomes one word. So now post-colonialism, the only ones who use the word with a hyphen are these Australian Commonwealth scholars like Bill Ashcroft and others. But for me, like philosophically now, there isn't much of a difference. And if we discuss it, it would be like, I don't know, maybe like an invented difference. But the technical term adopted and accepted term is post-colonialism as one word. But sadly, even the spell check doesn't recognize it. All the major books that I have by, Leela Gandhi, by Robert Young, by Ani Alumba, all the anthologies that are sitting on my shelf, postcolonial discourses, postcolonialisms, postcolonial theory, postcolonial theater, all of them use postcolonial as one word. So I think in American Academy, it is an accepted word and no one uses the hyphen anymore. Welcome back, Oroko. Thank you so much for joining us. I think you had sent me an email. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry if you send it to me. I probably forgot to answer it because you wanted resources, a list on postmodernism. I've written to my student who has already graduated, for whom I had created that list. As soon as he sends it to me, I will pass it on to you. Okay, Nicole, thank you for clearing that up. I'm a student in South India, and I used for videos to study for my theory exam just yesterday. Oh, I'm so glad. I hope it was useful. Yeah, as I always, thank you so much. It kind of is gratifying to know that, what I create in this office, basically, using just a webcam and a mic, that it is useful to people, from South India and from Kenya and from all over the world. And to me personally, it is deeply gratifying. And I'm glad that these videos are useful to you. And one thing that I would encourage you all to do and request you all to do is to promote these videos so that, sometimes people don't know about them. So if you share it with your friends and tell them, hey, this is a good video on post-colonialism or whatever, then more people can benefit from it. So while you're coming up with your questions, what we have decided is for me to develop a basic course on post-colonialism, create a web page for it on my website. And when that is done, you will see in a chronological sequence what will we be discussing every Saturday. And if you have forgotten, the website is postcolonial.net. And I will, as soon as I have developed it, I will create a brief announcement video explaining what's in the course, how to find it with the links and everything else. And I will upload it to YouTube, and that way you all will be able to find it. So, cool. So Chandraji, welcome. What do you think about postmodernism vis-a-vis? Oh, that's really an interesting thing. Yeah, the Skoll affair, those of you who don't know, is it was a hoax played by a few scholars with social text, which is still, I consider, is an amazing journal. And they sent them a fake article using these high vocabularies. And the article was reviewed and eventually published. It became a huge embarrassment for social text. I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe there was a gotcha moment for those scholars that. So what did they try to prove? That all these people who use theory and try to use all these complex words, are those always fake? Probably not, but that sometimes things can slip through, like maybe social text was damaged by it, but they recovered. They are still considered one of the great journals. Maybe it taught them a lesson to be more careful, to engage better reviewers. But in terms of postmodernism, I never have like just one way of looking at things. I have taught courses on postmodernism. I consider it as part of my expertise. Like every period, every branch of knowledge, it has its weaknesses. There are certain things it cannot do, but there are certain things it can do brilliantly, especially parody or making fun of established norms, even making fun of its own self. And you should watch I think I have a lecture published video on postmodernism. But yeah, that affair of publishing a fake article was big news. But, it has come and gone. It comes up every time someone does a search. But I don't think so. It was something that changed the way we do literature. Or maybe it changed how people get articles reviewed for their journals. But beyond that, people keep producing scholarship. Some of them make it accessible. Some of them don't. And some of them probably use theoretical terms that they don't know what they mean. But then meaning is always slippery. So what we can learn as scholars from that is that, to use vocabularies that we understand. And if we are using a certain connotation of a term, explain it in your writing. What do you mean by it? Which meaning are you taking for your essay? I always do that, even in non-literary books. I mean, if you look at my book on ISIS, the first chapter basically just discusses the terms that I'm using, framing, ideology, discourse, because I realized I need to pinpoint to my reader, this is how I'm using these terms, and this is why they're useful to me when I go and read the subjectivity of an ISIS person. Another thing that is important is sometimes I get questions because I post a video on a theoretical concept and people want me to have a specific opinion about a specific text. The thing with theory, I think, is that you can take the theoretical concept, even if it is discussing another text, but if you understand the concept, then you can take that concept and your understanding of it and then apply it, to any text or any scenario, and learning that is crucial in literary studies. And I would highly encourage that. Like, people also sometimes get engaged in deep philosophical debates on the videos through comment section, and it's really hard to really tackle those concepts in comments. Sometimes I have time to record a video as a response, but my hope is that all these materials that are increasingly being made available, which I keep producing, will encourage people to, take the basic knowledge from it and then go and read and practice. And reading, there is no shortcut to reading. Reading is absolutely crucial for understanding all the concepts. Postcolonial.net, and I will collect materials that are already available, which I produced myself, and make them available for you to watch. I will find open texts that are available and post them there with links so that you can read them. And then every week we'll have a certain assigned reading, just like a course. And we'll come together here on Saturdays and talk about them. And then we can also decide whether it's going to be an ongoing affair or whether we can do it for 6 months or 4 months. That's usually what a semester is, and then move on to something else, or maybe to a more advanced version of postcolonial studies. So that's all I have today, unless you have any more questions. Thank you so much for joining me, as always. I'm always grateful for that. And I will see you with more details about the course next week. Okay, so looks like there are no questions. And that means I can end it here and then go and teach my class in a couple of hours. Yeah, I'm teaching on Saturday because some of my students couldn't make it to an online class during the week. So that's it. I will be back with more information about the course. Please keep in mind that we have decided collectively for me to develop an online course, free online course on postcolonial studies, postcolonial literature, and postcolonial theory. So stay tuned for the web page, and for a video announcement of the course. And if all goes well, we will be then tackling the course materials every Saturday at the same time. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves, and peace and love.